Hello, everyone. We are Marin and Angela, and this is Homeschool Unrefined. We created this podcast to change the conversation about homeschool. This is a place where we encourage each other to do less, be ourselves, embrace natural learning, and keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. We live 2 miles away from each other in Minnesota, and we've been friends for over 20 years. Our kids are between the ages of 9 and 15, and we've been homeschooling a combined total of 19 years. We are an inclusive and non-sectarian podcasting community. We believe Black Lives Matter and affirm LGBTQ plus families. While this podcast is not focused on these topics, these beliefs inform our work and are woven into everything we do. We hope this is a place where we can all learn and grow together.
This is episode 148. You've got this, a harmonious homeschool. We are going to get to that in just a minute. First, hi, Marin.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
Great.
How about you?
Good. The sun is out in Minnesota.
I know.
It's warmed back up again.
It's a new world.
All the Minnesotans are rejoicing for a week, for however long it lasts.
It's our second fall.
I know.
All right. So let's start with our question from our Facebook squad group, which is for our patrons, but I'm going to bring one to you today. So Angela, I'm going to ask you this question, really important question. What are you watching on TV that's really great right now?
Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about something in my LTW, so I'm going to save that one. But I do want to talk about Insecure, which I have I talked about Insecure on this podcast? I've talked about it so much. I don't think I've talked about it on this podcast.
We do talk about it a lot on Patreon.
Yeah, right. But I want everyone to know about this because this is probably my favorite show of the year. It's on HBO. I know you watched it. You told me about it.
Yes.
So we both watched it.
I think I watched it twice.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Remember when I was obsessed with the other shows? No. Well, okay. I was obsessed with that one too. But no, the other one with Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh, Fleabag.
Yes. I was obsessed with Fleabag. This is on that same plane for me. So this is on HBO. There are 4 seasons. It is written by and stars Issa Rae. Yeah. And it's about her and her friends and her work, and it's so well written.
Yeah.
So well acted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love the storylines. It keeps me coming, like I want to keep watching because I want to find out what happens. It talks about relevant issues.
Yep.
It's like, I would call it like a dramedy.
I really love Issa Rae so much. I love her as a person now that I've been following her on, all the things. Yeah. And I've watched her backlog of like YouTube. She started, the web, a web show on YouTube like 10 years ago. Yeah. It was like how she broke out, and I am obsessed with everything she does now.
You've watched all that back stuff?
Yeah.
You did?
It's so funny. Yes.
So that was called, is that Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl? Or did she have one before that?
She did have another one too, which I don't know. I don't know if I watched that one, but yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
Yeah. She's really good.
And there is actually a show also on HBO, which is called A Black Lady Sketch Show, which you should watch because that's a lot like her web show that she used to have. Okay. So funny.
Yes. So if you have not seen Insecure and you happen to have HBO, I realize that's a barrier because it's, it's an expensive add-on that I keep saying I'm going to get rid of.
Yeah, me too.
But there's so many good shows.
I would almost get rid of everything and just have
everything
HBO,
else besides HBO.
Right now,
yeah.
It's my favorite.
So how about you? What are you into?
Well, I started watching during the pandemic because I was like, I know I'm going to be home for an extended period of time. I'm going to invest in something, that I haven't been willing to invest in, a longer show. And so I started watching Lost for the first time, very first time. And I know this is an older show. It started like in the early 2000s. I think it was like 2004 or something like that.
Wow.
And there were 6 seasons. So to 2010. You know, it's been a
Okay.
while. It's been a while
Yeah.
since it's been out there. Then I thought, is this even going to stand the test of time? I don't know.
Yeah. Does
a
it?
lot has changed since then. And yeah, I mean, it is so good. It is
Yeah.
so good. But I have to say, I wasn't prepared for the kind of science fiction-y part of it. I didn't know it was like that. I thought it was more of just like this adventure on this island of these people, you know, who they were in a plane crash, and they were stranded on this island. I thought it was just them like surviving on the island, but there's this whole other like science fiction-y part where you have to kind of suspend your, you know, belief in reality, and there's a lot more going on, and it gets really complicated, and a lot of times I don't even know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I can kind of hold things together in my head, like mostly.
Wow. Okay. I just had a thought. Are you listening to a recap podcast about Lost?
No.
Because you might like that.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
I can rewatch the whole thing now.
And what season are you on?
I'm on season 5 out of 6, and I'm almost done with 5. So it is, you know. And I wondered, like, did they know at this point that it was going to be done at the end of season 6? I don't know. I want to know that. That's what I want to know.
I don't think they don't know that stuff
They
in season 5, that they're going to be done at season 6. They probably don't know that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I've never watched Lost, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, I know.
Because I can't do a plane crash, especially flashbacks.
Yeah.
Now that you said it's got a science fiction-y element, that's the second reason I'm out. Can't do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Where are you watching this on?
On Hulu.
Okay.
Yep.
And are the episodes an hour?
About. They're probably
wow.
between 45 and an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
a commitment too. I can't watch more than one at a time. I'd never have time for that. So
okay, yeah.
So that's why it's taken so long.
Yeah.
All of the pandemic.
Well, that's good. You'll always remember.
I will always remember when I watched Lost. I want to talk about it with people. If anybody has watched Lost, please DM me.
All right. Well, if you are interested in joining our Patreon community, Facebook Squad community, we'd love to have you there. Mm-hmm. It's just $5 a month, and you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined. Mm-hmm. Before we start with our main topic for today, I wanted to let everybody know I've been working on a project. It's our bookshop.org site. Mm-hmm. So I know if you've been around, or if you remember, I have talked about bookshop.org as being my go-to place to buy books, basically now. It's my alternative to Amazon. So the reason I love Bookshop is because they give proceeds of every purchase to local independent bookstores. Mm-hmm. And the other reason I love it is the website is so slick. It's pretty. It's organized.
It is. Yeah. It's so easy to use.
User friendly. This
really
blows Amazon out of the water.
Yeah, for sure.
So we discovered that you can make your own bookshop.org store, affiliate store. Mm-hmm. And so we are affiliates on bookshop.org. And I've been having so much fun creating all these lists of our favorite books. Yeah. I've gone back in our history and I'm creating book lists, and I think you guys are going to love it. Mm-hmm. So I will put a link in the show notes, but I'll just tell you a little bit about what we have about my lists. Books for middle and older kids, books for younger kids, books for the homeschooling parent. I did some books. I told everybody on my Instagram which books I was using for homeschool this year. So I have a big list of those. All of our LTWs and books we've talked about loving are on there. Any curriculum type books that we're using are on there. Yep. Graphic novels. Okay, I'll maybe stop.
And a lot of your favorite books too, right? I know that
yeah.
So let's just stop and pay homage to the dedication of your book reading over the past several decades, probably. Like, you have been an avid reader for so long, and I just have to say, anytime I am at a loss of what I should personally read next, I just ask you, and you know exactly what to tell me. And so if you ever need a good book recommendation, go to this bookshop.org, our affiliate link. And Angela has just like the best book recommendations you will ever get. And also, we've really tried. I mean, I know you personally in your book reading and in our own for homeschool, we really try to diversify our books. So this is we really work hard at that. Although I have to say, we would love to hear more recommendations of diverse books. So if you ever have any, and you're listening right now, we'd also love a DM.
Oh yeah,
for that because we're always on the lookout.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Maren. That's nice. I have some of my favorites. I have poetry books, and then we have our holiday favorites. We put a lot of our holiday favorites in. This is not done. I'm still working on it. This is super fun for me.
Yeah.
I have a tab open on my computer, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot this book. But I did go through like all of our Amazon lists, all of our show notes, and I just added them. So if you're looking for like any holiday gift for anybody, this would be a great place to go.
True.
This would be a great place to go. So I will put a link in the show notes. The other good thing to know is just we get a cut from this because we're affiliates. When you shop on Amazon, we get like pennies.
Yeah.
We get a couple pennies. When you shop on Bookshop, we get 10%. And it's a lot. So like if somebody buys a $20 book, we get $2, which is just really great. So there's higher affiliate pricing. So
yeah. And really we're doing this. I mean, that's not our big reason for doing it. It's just that we really want to support this website too, this company.
Well,
for sure.
And I feel like it's like
local.
And I feel like it's like just kind of a fun project for me because it's so pretty. I mean, you just have to see it. It's so pretty, and it's like it's just like all of our favorite books in one spot, and there's like pictures of the books, and they do a good job with the layout. So it just kind of looks like a pretty website too.
So take advantage of all of Angela's, her gifting in this and her hard work. So it's right there.
You're so sweet.
Seriously.
Thank you. Okay, all right, let's get on to our main topic, which is a harmonious homeschool.
You've got this.
You've got this.
You've got
a
it.
harmonious homeschool. So we wanted to talk about this because whenever we're in a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of homeschool Facebook groups, just random ones, and I see this question pop up all the time.
Yeah, which it's probably the biggest question.
The biggest question I read all the time, which is something like this: how do I get my kids to do their work?
Yeah.
They don't do their work. Or my kid is fighting with me about doing their math. Or are you ever worried about your relationship with your kids? Because I feel like our relationship is being ruined by homeschool because we're fighting so much.
Yeah.
Does that about sum it up, Maren?
Yeah, pretty much. It's
questions?
Just, yes. Yeah. I think it's, and I feel like I say this a lot, but I really, and maybe I'm always talking about this topic when I'm saying this, but I feel like this is the biggest reason for burnout for homeschoolers is that, because there's one, a parent has a very strong idea about what homeschool should be like, and the kids are just not getting on board with it. And there's this dissension and it's not working. And it's so miserable that, there's this burnout factor that just happens. And I think we wanted to talk about that because we have so many thoughts, and it doesn't have to be like that.
Right. It does not have to be this contentious at all. It doesn't have to be contentious at all. This topic, it's funny, when we talked about doing this episode, we thought like we've never done an episode like this, but really it feels like we're talking about it a lot because we talk about it a lot, kind of threaded throughout everything.
Yes.
This is really it's foundational to Homeschool Unrefined. It's foundational to our podcast and kind of our message.
Right.
So you're going to hear it. You've probably heard it in a lot of past conversations we had. I mean, it's why we're doing what we're doing. It's why we do like different personality classes. It's why we do every episode. This is something that really defines us.
Yes. And it's something we as teachers saw. Well, we were, when we were teaching in public schools too, that, there has to be this onboarding, like, there's kids need to, feel on board with what they're doing, or it's just not going to work.
Right.
And I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. I just think it's like, oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say it's one of the things we need to hear too. I mean, we feel so strongly about it, and yet we question it every day, or we need that support too. So it just feels really important to talk about.
Right. So we're going to talk about that today. If you want to go a little deeper in this, we talked about a lot of specifics in the Back to School Summit, which is in Patreon. So if you're a Patreon member and you haven't listened to those, you can get probably lots of more practical stuff there too.
Right.
But you kind of touched on this a little bit, Maren. When you decide to homeschool, and you all know this because you're homeschool parents, you kind of have two roles. You have the parent role, and then you have the teacher role.
Yep.
And I think because we're so used to, teachers doing things a certain way, we can feel like as a parent, we also need to do things like a teacher would. And we feel like, we have to put on teacher hat, and then we have to put on parent hat. And that can be really hard for us to navigate. I think that's really hard to navigate. And we're here to tell you that, at least I feel, when I'm doing my best, when I'm at my best, I have one role. Yes. And it's really like parent. It's really probably parent.
Yeah.
Who is homeschooling.
Yep.
And I don't feel teachery.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think that's, when you think about it, why you really homeschool, if you really are dig down, that is probably one big reason why you homeschooled in the first place. Not to become the teacher at home. Not to become the decider of all things, and the only one with the vision, and the only one, the person who's making all the decisions. You're the parent, and you know your kids best. You know what they need. And so you want to come in and use those gifts and those interests, and figure out, how to use their quirky little behaviors, or, in a positive way, so they can feel good about themselves. And it's tough to do that as a teacher. I mean, we can do it. We did it. And it was really hard. I mean, as a parent, you have this special insight that no teacher has. And you get to use that.
Yeah. Teachers have to do things the way they do because they have a classroom of 25 or 30 kids, all different personalities, and they have, curriculum to get through. As a parent, you don't have that. You don't have to do anything a certain way. And so I think a lot of this is also deschooling and just kind of shedding those perceptions of why you're doing things the way you are.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking about this, if you are thinking of yourself as a teacher at home, which we all get into that, I think, that thought sometimes, I have to be the teacher here, because these kids need to learn A, B, C, D, and E all before 3 p.m. today, and we can get into this cycle of just crossing things off and getting things done. But like I said, that can so quickly turn into burnout for you, for your kids, for everybody.
Yeah.
Or you just keep grinding on this work, and then it becomes everybody's miserable. So if that's if that's your mentality, then it's just really hard to enjoy the process of learning.
Yeah. I mean, probably your kids aren't enjoying it either. I mean, probably nobody's enjoying it if you're grinding.
Yep.
Yeah. So how does this work for us?
Yeah.
Because are we yelling, or do we have kids who are fighting us? Are we making kids do things? I mean, I think people want to know probably the specifics of how it really works. And I'll just start with, I don't want to be, I guess authoritarian. Like, I don't want to be teachery. I really value what my kids think and their perspectives. And I want to collaborate with them on where we're going and what we're learning. We talk a lot about collaborating with kids. And I think most parents can get behind that idea of collaboration when we talk about things like, well, what should we eat for dinner? Or, where should we go today? Or things like that, like that. But I think it's harder to get behind when you talk about something like school.
Right.
Because I think we can tend to think like, this is so important. And they don't know how important this is. And I need to make sure.
Yeah. And, there are state standards. And so even though we are homeschooling, there are standards out there. And it may feel really bad to not be living up to those standards. So there's some kind of standard out there that's not even necessarily for you because you're not in that system, but it feels like you should be working towards that or beyond that, like to prove that this is like really working or something. And so I think that is a really interesting point that we do in theory. Oftentimes I guess I could just speak for myself. In theory, I really do feel like my kids need choices and things, but I tend to give them choices on things that I care less about. And then the things that I'm really gripped on, like have this very strong grip on, then those things, no, you can't touch those. And I need that control right there and on those things.
That's so good. Because, you really don't care what color cup they have or probably what cartoon they're watching.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yes.
Or where you go for a walk or what place you're getting takeout from. Those things aren't as important to you as their education, which just seems like such a big deal.
The good news is, and this can, give you a lot of freedom and a lot of power as a homeschool parent to know that what your child is interested in is the thing they're going to learn the most about. So if they're interested in dinosaurs right now, then dinosaurs should be your homeschool, or it can be a big part of it anyway, however you want that to be. And a lot of it can be how they want to learn too. And so I feel like, yes, and I'm learning this along the way, there are lots of things that are non-negotiable for me. I need my kids to learn that, but it might not be. What I've learned to let go of is when, it might not be in first grade or second grade or third grade or fifth grade, it might happen in seventh grade. The thing you wanted to have, happen way back a long time ago, but it happens. Our kids are wired to learn. They can't not learn. They, but I mean, it's just, they aren't wired to learn in the exact way that we've probably planned for them at the exact moment we've planned it.
Yeah. So an example of that would be let's just say math, because I would think most of us listening probably think our kids need to do some math, right? Math is important. And so you might be thinking my kid won't do math. I have this curriculum. I try really hard to be positive, but my kid just won't do it. Or my kid burns out after a couple problems or whatever. And so I think it is important. We're not saying don't do math then, never do math.
Right.
We're not saying that.
No.
We sometimes as parents, we know what they need. And so sometimes, you might be right that they do need some math, but you can be flexible on all the other things surrounding that. You can be flexible on when you do it, how you do it, how long you do it for, what way they're learning it, what time of day.
And it might even be the topic of math that they're not ready. It might be the subtopic within math.
Yeah.
They're not
it
ready
might
for
be fractions or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And we have to be careful about doing things linearly, even in math. They might not be ready for memorizing their multiplication facts, but they might be really into fractions. And that wasn't on that feels like skipping to you.
Yeah.
But in their mind, it just works. So, that, and these could be these are things that can stretch your limits so much. And, that might feel too much, much, but that's kind of, sometimes how your child learns.
Yeah. And like you said, like you might have a 3rd grade math curriculum. And at that point, it might say that they need to do, 2-digit multiplication, or I don't know what a 3rd grade math curriculum would say. But you might decide like that can wait till next year or even the next year. Or you might decide like maybe your curriculum has like 30 problems and your kid might be willing to do 3 or 4 a day. And then you play a game or something. That's something, that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to do the 30 problems in the math book. You don't have to do it in 3rd grade.
Yes, exactly.
Like you can be flexible, but still be requiring math.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And you might do it you might do it on a whiteboard. You might do it on an iPad. You might do it on your driveway with chalk. You might, there's just like so many.
It might be an app.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we all know that point when the child doesn't want to do the work, the thing, or not even the work, the thing that you had planned.
Yes.
The thing that you're excited about, the thing you think is important. There's a time, there's a moment where it starts to take a turn when there might be some frustration, maybe yelling, maybe you're trying to convince them. That is your signal that something needs to change. That right there. So before it gets to the point where you're yelling or trying to convince them, stop and tell yourself, you know what? This is my time. This is my hint. I need to change something. Also, like when it gets to that point, no learning is going to happen when there's relational conflict or strife. Nothing. So you might as well not try.
Right.
If you have to yell or convince them, you've already kind of lost.
And the biggest learning point at that moment, the biggest learning objective at that moment might be that what they say matters in your family. And it doesn't mean they get to call all the shots. Oh, you want this? I'm going to give you this. It's just, I'm listening to what you need right now. That is a life changer. That's a life changer.
Yeah, it is.
Change your whole life. Yeah.
It is. It's important for them to know that their parent cares about what they think and how they learn best and what their feelings are about that. So at that moment, when that happens in my house, and it does happen, I'm learning to recognize it earlier. Like when I first started homeschooling, there was yelling or there was fighting or frustration. Now I'm recognizing it before that happens, usually.
And no shame or guilt here. Like no. This is a no shame zone.
Right.
So for sure. Like if this has happened or is happening at your house, it happened today or it's happening while you're listening to this right now, it's okay.
It's okay.
Like
we've all been there.
We've all been there and we will be there.
Yeah. So at that moment, it's time to just put the work away. Whatever you were working on, put it away. And, kind of like we were saying last week with the screen conversations, I don't want to have the conversation at that moment about why they're not doing their math. Like, it's not a good time to sit on the couch then and have even a really nice conversation about math. Yeah. Because we're all coming from like heightened emotions at that point. Right. So pick another time. I don't know when it would be for you, maybe after dinner, before bed or whatever, and listen to them about what's not working for them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we better stop.
It's okay. We don't need to cut this. It's okay. We won't cut it.
Okay.
Just go ahead, Maren.
Well, sorry. What I was going to say is too, like what I've learned is even if I talk about that, like what I think is a neutral time, like that evening or something, I feel like it can spark some emotions. It's like too soon. Yeah. And so sometimes I make lists of like things I want to talk about with my kids at a, when it's not even on their radar at all. Right. It's good to do this at the beginning of the year. And I try to do this. Like, what do you want to learn this year? How do you think math should go this year? Or, just to get some input, and then there can be a conversation before it even starts. But even like in the middle of the year, when there is no conflict, and I can ask that same question, how do you think math's going? Or how do you feel, like your relationship even is with, how do you think our relationship? Do you think everything's going well? Or things like that. Like, I want to ask those things at a very distant, like, I don't want them to be like, I know why you're asking me this, Mom.
Yeah. We had a problem.
And
3
now
hours
you're
ago.
bringing it up.
Yeah.
I just want it to be like a completely like, oh, this is a new conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. No pressure. It might just be that they were having a bad day and something else was wrong.
Yeah.
It might be that they don't like the time of day. It might be that they need a different curriculum. It might be that they need to get outside and exercise before they do that thing. There's so many reasons why it might not be working, and it's important for us to listen to what they're saying.
Yes. So true. So true. I have to give you a little snapshot into our morning.
Okay, let's hear
I
it.
think this is I wasn't even thinking about this episode when our morning happened, but it's
okay.
It's so applicable. So my youngest made an in real life game for Among Us game. There's this app Among Us, right? So she made this real life Among Us game where there are tasks around our house and everybody has to do these tasks. And then, there's, an imposter, and she planned out the whole thing for everybody this morning. And I had a different plan and things that I wanted to get done this morning. And she was so excited about this. I mean, she was just like, so excited, and she doesn't get super excited about tons of academic stuff. So I just thought, okay, we're gonna go with this. And so she kind of just led this whole game for about an hour or so, and all our 3 older kids followed along, and I've been training them to like listen to the younger child. And so I felt like it's the morning. Everybody's willpower is at their best right now. Our kids need a positive experience together. Yeah. My youngest needs to feel heard and like a good leader. And it was just kind of everything we needed that I didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
At the start of our day.
But you didn't get your other stuff done.
Didn't get our other stuff done, but let me tell you what happened after that. After that, everybody went outside. I made everybody go outside. It's such a beautiful day. We all went outside, got some energy out, came inside, and got, I'm not going to say so much done. We got two really important things done in less than a half an hour.
Yeah.
And I just thought we could have been working on those 2 things for a really long time and dragging their feet. And they weren't things that anybody was super excited about, but because they came to that time after having a positive experience together, having fun, getting some exercise, they came in like they were just ready to do these 2 quick things. And it was like, it packed such a punch.
Yeah.
And it was over
so great.
quick.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
great.
doesn't happen every morning, but it doesn't always happen that smoothly or easily, but also it looked easy to everybody else. Like, oh, good, we're playing this game. In my mind, of course, I'm like, how are we going to get everything else done? A million things went through my head. Nobody had to see that except me.
Yeah.
But it worked out. It worked out.
Good job. And I know that's probably from, you have experience with this from before, so you might have screwed this up before. I know I might have too. Like maybe you've made the mistake of saying, no, we're not going to play your thing. We're going to do school. Maybe you've done that before. And so now when this happens, I got to kind of jump on it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the magical moments that you can't even plan or create. And I think we think we need to plan and create the magical moments a lot. Like we have to do that work or otherwise it's just not real or something. But often our kids create those things. It's our kids' creations if we can kind of let them do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other thing I want to add about what happened this morning was that we did a lot of things in a small amount of time. Small chunks are so good when it comes to something that's really important to you that is not important to your kids whatsoever.
Yes.
Small chunks, and that's something that you work together with. Like it's important for you to not negotiate on some things that are really important to you. And then you can negotiate on like how long you spend on it. You know, small chunks are so effective.
Yes. So an example of this is my son hates handwriting. He has dysgraphia, and so he avoids it. He doesn't have the muscle strength as much. And so but he has to practice it. So like for me, it's really important that he keeps practicing it because he needs to build up that muscle strength. But for him, he's like, I don't want to because I hate this thing because I don't have the muscle strength. Right.
It's catch-22.
So yeah. And so we, what we have done for years is you can practice a couple letters. Like 2 years ago, it was, practice this letter, write it 4 times. This one letter, write it 4 times. Or you can write this word 2 times.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, that's all he has to do, but it's daily. So then he's like, okay, yep, I just got to quick do this. It's not that bad. I'm just going to quick do it. Now he's up to sentences. Like, he's doing a couple sentences, but he's older, and he trusts that this is going to be short and painless. It's going to be short. I'm going to get it over with quickly. It's going to be painless. But I think he's also bought into a little bit that, I kind of do need to do this. So the small chunks has worked for us. That's just one example.
Yeah.
On so many things.
So many things.
Reading aloud, too. If somebody's not into it in that moment, we can do one small chapter.
Yeah.
A couple pages and move on.
Absolutely. And I've done that with just independent reading too. My kids, we all have like reading issues in our family, like dyslexia and ADHD that work together to make it really hard to sit down and read. And so 10 minutes for mine, for my kids is sometimes what we can do. And it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing. Great. So I will take it. And I also, something that I thought about this morning when that was all happening was that I want my kids to come to those kind of harder moments, the moment where they have to do something. I want them to come to that with a full cup. Like, I don't want them to come to that where they already feel depleted or frustrated or not heard. I want them to come to that where like they feel like I feel like I have a connection with you. We've made a good connection. I feel like all my needs are met, and I feel good about myself and where I'm at. And then I can do the hard thing. Yes. It's really hard to do hard things when your cup feels already empty.
Yes. Yes. When kids feel respected and like you value their ideas and contributions, they want to work with you. They are more likely to want to work with you.
Absolutely. And they want to. They want to, yes. They see your value. They can really even see what you're thinking more.
Yep.
They can understand you better. So,
yep. I also just wanted to say that like this process of this isn't working for me. We need to change something. Whether it's the kid or myself happens often. It happens probably, I don't know, every couple weeks. There's something that, this isn't working for me. I need to change something. And that doesn't mean that I planned wrong or that I'm not a good teacher or that I'm not cut out to homeschool or that my kid isn't a good homeschooler or that there's something wrong with my kid and the way that they learn. That doesn't mean any of those things. This is all healthy and normal. Yeah. We're all just like changing things up, tweaking things, refining the process, figuring out what works for us. What are our strengths? What are our kids' strengths? We're all just learning about how to do this better as we go. And so just because you have those times where you're fixing things and figuring things out or changing things up, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. You're doing it right.
Yeah. And probably if your homeschool looks a little weird, or you're like, if anybody saw what we were doing right now, that probably means you're really honing in on what your kids need and want right now. It's not going to look like anyone else, probably. I mean, if you're doing it, if you're really thinking about the personality and the needs of your own kids, it's going to look very different, probably.
Right. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful.
It was helpful to me.
It was helpful to me to talk about it again. So, yeah.
Always.
All right. Let's move on to our LTWs. Yes. Loving this week. Maren, what are you loving this week?
All right. Well, I am loving our new lights in our house.
Oh, yeah.
They are smart lights. Smart lights. And they are from Philips. I think the company is Philips, and they're called Wiz. Yes. I think on Patreon I call them Wix, and I don't know why. They are Wiz lights, WIZ, and there's an app that goes along with it. But I love them because we moved into a new house this spring or beginning of summer, and all the lights were going out. Every day there was like one light that was going out, and
oh wow!
Finally, my husband was like, "I am just gonna replace all the light bulbs. Let's just
that's amazing.
Get the right ones that last for 10 years or whatever, and just be done with it." And which I'm so thankful for, because it's just so great. Like, you can really set the mood and the tone in every room. There's just so many choices. It's really fun for the kids too. They like, can change the lights to fun colors or whatever.
Basically like on a dimmer.
They can be. You can dim them to anything you want. And there's like daylight, warm light, cozy, night light, candlelight. There's just lots of different choices, and and once you choose like one of those, like cozy, let's say, then you can dim it to whatever strength you want it to be on.
And you do that all through the app.
Yes, I know that you can buy remotes or whatever, but we just have an app. So, but you can also program it so that your switch, if you like turn the switch on twice, like up, down, or whatever, then it'll go to your
cozy
or whatever. Yeah, you can program it to do whatever, and you can put things on timers. So like, if you want the kitchen lights to slowly dim between 9 and 10 p.m., they will do that.
Yeah. That would be so nice.
Yeah.
So do you do you have things programmed?
We did for a while. Okay, it's kind of a long story. We did for a while, and then we had to change something happened on our Wi-Fi. We have to reprogram everything.
Okay,
basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, we're working on it.
I did see when we came to your house for Halloween outside, you had some outside.
Oh yeah, Sean just put those on right on
Halloween lights.
He's like, this is important.
He showed us how they worked. It was really impressive.
He might be more excited than anyone.
They were different colors. Like, you could do like red outside lights or green outside lights.
They have Halloween themed. You can push Halloween, and then it turns Halloween colors.
Yeah.
So it gets pretty elaborate.
It was cool. And I have to say, because Sean is highly sensitive about lights.
Yes,
he's highly sensitive, and then he's sensitive about lights. This is helpful for him because he can,
He is so happy at night, especially. He turns them like this specific brightness every night. And yeah, it really calms his whole like nervous system down.
That's
and
awesome.
I know this is important for lots of kids too, like the lighting. So it can change your whole demeanor. So for sure my husband is like that, and I know some of my kids for sure are very much affected by lighting. So it's awesome. And then, my kids like to turn on, they have this TV setting, and it's like kind of blue. It's blue. So you can see when you're watching TV or a movie or something, you can see the screen really well. Like, there's no glare. But you can also see where you're going if you have to move. Like, the lights aren't completely off, and that's really awesome. But my kids also like that lighting, and then they do like a full house game of hide and seek. So we just turn on all the lights, and I don't know, it's like this fun, cool thing for them.
That's awesome.
They're loving it. I'm sure the excitement will wear off at some point, but it's nice to have that kind of control.
I feel like this is where we're going. I mean, this is the way it's going to be in like 10 years. We're all going to have these lights, probably.
Okay. Anyway, Angela, what are you loving this week?
Okay. I'm going to be real basic and say that I am loving Schitt's Creek. I know I'm late to the party. I know everybody knows about Schitt's Creek, but
you're before me. I haven't seen it. I haven't watched it.
I know. And okay. So here's the thing. It's a stressful time. We all know this, right? And we just need a little, escape.
Yes.
And I had watched like probably the first 5 or 6 episodes of Schitt's Creek, and I was like, yeah, it's good, but it's whatever. It's fine. But I knew that I needed to watch more to get into the characters, which is what's happened. And now this is the point that I've wanted to be at. I'm only at the start of season 2.
Okay.
But I wanted to get here where I'm like, I need to keep watching because I want to see what happens and it's funny. And that's where I'm at.
Great.
And I love it. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to encourage you, because I know you've only watched the first few episodes or something too, right? You, when you're done with Lost or whatever, or if you need something different, just get, and I hate when people say this, just get past the first 12 episodes, because that's a lot of commitment.
Do you think it was the writing that improved, or did something improve, or it's just that you got into it now? Now you're into it.
No,
it's
I think it improved.
Oh, okay.
I think just anytime you care about characters,
yes,
you know, you want the best for them. I don't know. You want to. You just want to see what happens to them because you care about them.
I didn't know when I first started watching the show a long time ago. You know, I watched the first couple episodes a long time ago, and I didn't know that Eugene Levy and his son Dan, is it Dan Levy?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was his son. I didn't know they were related.
How did you miss it?
I don't know.
They're twins,
basically. No, you're right, completely.
And their daughters. His daughter's in it too, but she doesn't look like them.
What? The daughter is his daughter?
Yeah, she's in it too. She's in it too.
It's
a family affair.
Is she the daughter?
No. She's not the daughter. No, she's a different character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I've always loved Eugene Levy.
I know. I know you
movies.
have. So and
Catherine
O'Hara.
Oh.
Yeah, you do. So what's taking you so long?
I don't know.
I think
I get a little snobby about, things. And so
snobby?
A little about funny shows. And so at first I was like, this isn't as funny as.
Yeah, I know. You can't think of it as funny. You can't think like I'm going into this for some comedy.
Oh.
It's just like an escape. Yeah. And sometimes it's funny.
Okay.
Sometimes it's funny.
Sounds good. Well, I after the Emmys this year, I thought I need to get on this train. They won everything. They won everything.
There's a reason they won everything.
So, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We'd love to have you find us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Homeschool Unrefined. Our website is homeschoolunrefined.com, where you can find show notes and links to everything that we talked about. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Homeschool Unrefined is created and produced by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Amanda Ginn is our content and marketing strategist.
This podcast is listener supported. We have been and are happy to be personally investing in this business we believe in, but we also know we deserve to have a business that invests in itself. When we reach 200 patrons, we'll have enough to cover our costs and the many projects we are dreaming of. Join our growing community at patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Additionally, we are donating 10% of all Patreon income and product sales to The Conscious Kid, a Black and Brown-led organization that has been instrumental in our own evolution and in leading the way in both ideological and tangible change with their work in parenting and education through a critical race lens.
No matter how you homeschool, you are exactly who your kids need. You're doing great.